Fox #1 News, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Today, the sex trafficking trial of hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs gets underway. Prosecutors say the Bad Boy Records founder used his fame to abuse women for decades.
It is one of the most highly anticipated criminal trials of the year. Jury selection started today in the sex trafficking and racketeering trial of hip-hop mogul Sean Combs. And some big names from the entertainment world are already being mentioned.
I'm Darla Miles, where jury selection in the Sean Combs sex trafficking case is underway. In just a moment, I'll tell you how many jurors, if any, have been seated.
For more than 2 decades, Combs was one of hip-hop's biggest names.
But U.S. prosecutors say that behind the scenes, Combs was coercing and abusing women with the help from a network of associates who allowed all of it to happen. Combs has pleaded not guilty, and he's denied the allegations.
Now his fate will be up to the jury in New York City to decide if he will spend the rest of his life in prison. Jury selection began this morning with the intentions of opening statements to begin 1 week from today. And the case could last up to 10 weeks.
Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles in the courtroom today and can tell us more about what prospective jurors are being asked as they prepare for this case. Darla.
Bill and Sade, Sean Combs is fully engaged in this jury selection process. You can see him seated at the jury table, at his defense table, taking notes and speaking to his attorneys throughout this process. It is such a high-stakes trial, as you just mentioned. It's the matter of whether or not he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. At one point, his attorneys asked for a bathroom break because he said, "I'm sorry, Judge, I'm a little nervous today." This 17-page questionnaire is the starting point in selecting the jury who will sit for the 8-week sex trafficking and racketeering trial for Sean Diddy Combs. The tedious process getting underway Monday morning in a 26th-floor federal courtroom in Lower Manhattan. Sean Combs wearing a white-collared shirt under a navy sweater, navy slacks, and black glasses with salt and pepper hair and a salt and pepper goatee. The first pool of 60 prospective jurors were told by a federal judge the hardship has to be extraordinary for you to be excused. The judge wanting to keep the trial moving efficiently.
I think it will be challenging, but Judge Subramanian has allocated 3 days for jury selection, and that's pretty much average for a trial of this length, which is 8 to 10 weeks.
Prospective jurors filled out the questionnaire in advance and were asked questions like, before today, have you read, seen, or heard anything about Mr. Combs or the criminal charges brought against Mr. Combs? Despite telling the court, I guess when they went into his house, they found a bunch of baby oil, this prospective juror was not excused. Several other prospective jurors have seen the 2016 video of Combs assaulting his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. A woman who works for HBO told the court, "It's upsetting to watch, but I don't know the full story, so I can listen to the facts." She was not excused either. But one prospective juror was dismissed after admitting she'd recently watched the HBO documentary, The Fall of Diddy.
The question isn't really whether or not you know him or like his music, obviously. It's whether or not you think you can be fair and the government witnesses as well.
And about a dozen celebrities who might be mentioned during the trial were named during jury questioning, like Kanye West, Michael B. Jordan, Mike Myers, and Michelle K. Williams. Now, this jury selection process is happening in 3 phases. There's first the questionnaire that they fill out before arriving to court. Secondly, they receive the one-on-one direct questioning from the judge, which happened today. Once they get down to a pool of 45 qualified jurors, then they will answer direct questioning from the defense and prosecution attorneys to determine whether or not they want to strike any of those jurors. Reporting live in Lower Manhattan, Darla Miles, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Well, day one is now over, Liz, and they so far have selected 19 people to make it to the next round of jury selection. The goal is to get a group of 45 prospective jurors. Both sides will then whittle that down to 12 who will be seated. 12 New Yorkers who will decide the fate of this world-famous rapper.
In just hours, lawyers hope to be able to seat a jury in the case against Sean Diddy Combs. This is a big day, and it follows day 2 of jury selection, which came with some frustration. Lawyers struggling to reach a pool of 45 qualified prospective jurors, prompting the judge to warn both sides that they are running out of time.
Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles is live in Lower Manhattan with the very latest on today's proceedings. Darla.
Liz, the length of time it has taken to find a pool of qualified jurors has been longer than preferred, meaning the court initially wanted to be done by today so that they could give the attorneys Thursday and Friday to prepare their case for trial. However, this is still on track for opening arguments to begin on Monday.
This afternoon, the federal sex trafficking trial of music mogul Sean Combs and witness testimony started today. Eyewitness News anchor Mike Marza leads our team coverage outside the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Mike.
Liz and David, so much happened today, and on the stand right now is a male escort named Daniel Phillip, who was allegedly paid to have sex with Sean Diddy Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. So much has been playing out and so much lead up to today on the first day of this trial. Take us through what you observed inside.
Absolutely. This morning you could see a big sigh of relief on Sean Diddy Combs' face. When he came into the courtroom, he was smiling at his attorneys, he was smiling at his family, he gave hard hands to his family. That's something that he routinely does. But then, Mike, obviously, as you know, the gravity of this case is very serious, and everything got very serious, especially this afternoon when prosecutors showed the extended full version of that hotel video.
Testimony, we understand, has wrapped here on day one. That's what's happening inside the courthouse. Outside the courthouse, Mike, we just saw some action.
Just about 10 minutes ago, we saw Cassie Ventura's husband walk right by our camera position here. I asked him how did he think it went in there today. He did not respond, very stoic, and he got into a vehicle.
Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles was in the courtroom. She's live in Lower Manhattan with more. Darla.
David and Liz, this is the first time Sean Combs and Cassie Ventura have been in the same room in 7 years, and certainly the first time since she filed her explosive lawsuit in November of 2023, which kicked off this criminal investigation. There was a presence, a quiet when she came into the courtroom, and the weight of her testimony cannot be understated.
Today we learned very intimate details about her past relationship with Sean Combs. At one point, Ventura revealed he gave her the nickname Pop-Up, which she felt was weird and disrespectful since that is what she calls her grandfather. Most of her testimony revolved around those so-called freak-offs, which she said became a job where there was no space to do anything else but recover. Today inside federal court in Lower Manhattan, the prosecution's star witness, Cassie Ventura, breaking down at times, describing her very complex relationship with Sean Combs. They dated for years. At one point, Combs managed her music career. But not long into the relationship, Ventura told the jury Combs would sometimes get angry, calling them, quote, stomach in knots moments. Prosecutors asked, can you tell me what arguments with Sean Combs were like? She responded, quote, if they were violent, they would result in some sort of physical abuse, dragging. He would mash in my head, knock me out, drag me, kick me. How frequently were you injured in the relationship? The prosecutor asked. Cassie's reply, quote, too frequently. The defense maintains the physical abuse went both ways. Legal analyst Terry Austin.
Defense counsel got up and said, look, he's not a good guy. He's mean. He's violent. They actually admitted to domestic violence and assault. But what they told that jury is that's not what he's on trial here for. He's on trial for doing things that have nothing to do with that domestic violence.
Ventura admitted even with the problems, she loved Combs and wanted to make him happy. She claims in time, the father of 7 suggested she have sex with other men, escorts and dancers, during which he would watch. Ventura testified the so-called freak-offs would last for hours, as long as 4 days, and were weekly events that Combs organized. She says the encounters unfolded in hotels, their own homes, that there were drugs and large amounts of baby oil, 10 bottles at a time. Ventura says Combs insisted the oil was warm and put all over everyone's bodies so that they were, quote, glistening. Combs listened at times, shaking his head no, while Ventura's husband, Alex Fine, glared and rolled his eyes at the Combs family seated in the second and third rows. Ventura testified the freak-offs went on for years, that Combs was dismissive when she told him she didn't want to participate. She said she felt disgusted and humiliated, but kept going, saying, quote, I enjoyed being with him. It was one-on-one time. I felt close to him. As sad as it was, I felt like it was the only time I could get.
So we invite you to stay with Eyewitness News and ABC News throughout this trial. And at ABC 7 NY, we have a live blog with continuous updates from inside the courtroom.
You can sign up for Eyewitness News mobile alerts, where you can get a detailed recap of all the day's testimony every night.
I'm Mike Marza with a recap of day 5 of the Sean Diddy Combs trial. The first week of testimony is now over, and the Combs defense team wrapped up their cross-examination of the prosecution's star witness, Cassie Ventura. What was your biggest takeaway from today?
Another emotional day. But if I have to sum it up in one line or one answer, it would have to be the answer that was objected to and it was sustained. And that was when Cassie was asked, what was your other job? And Cassie said, I was a sex worker. Because that's really what this entire case, according to the prosecution, is all about.
Good morning. Sean Combs' trial about to wrap up. Today we're expecting Brendan Paul. He is a prosecution witness. He would be witness number 32. He apparently is the final witness in this case.
I was in court this morning, and the judge came in at about 9:15, and he proceeded for roughly 2 hours to give the jury instructions.
There were 4 notes today, 2 really just procedural. One, early afternoon, when the jury foreperson told the judge that, quote, we are concerned juror 25 cannot follow your honor's instructions.
Okay, right now we just want to update you on the happenings of the Diddy trial today. So the jury reached an agreement on 4 of the 5 counts, but there's still one that's remaining.
It's a big
and
one.
that is the racketeering conspiracy charge.
And this is day 2 of deliberations in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. And today we had a partial verdict, counts 1 through 5, and there was some discrepancy about count 1. The jury not unanimous on a decision on count 1, which is the racketeering and conspiracy, but they have reached a unanimous decision on counts 2 through 5. So what does that mean? Well, the jury will return at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning to continue their deliberations after telling the judge that they were stuck on count 1. In just a moment, we're going to be joined by our ABC News legal analysis team here. We have Bernarda Villalona to dig deeper and Shauna Lloyd as well. What do you suspect is the sticking point in their inability to reach a unanimous decision on count 1 at this point?
So there's a few variables that could be going on. It can be either the main issue as to whether there was an enterprise, whether Sean Combs was working with his employees to commit these predicate acts, whether there was an agreement. So if you don't have the enterprise, the first starting point, then you don't have even reached the predicate acts.
These things change by the minute, as we've seen play out over the past couple of days. And as soon as a verdict is reached, we'll be live on the air and online with complete coverage at ABC 7 NY.
Live from New York's #1 news, this is Eyewitness News Mornings at 10.
Nearly 10 o'clock in New York City, and as we take a live look at federal court in Lower Manhattan, jurors in the Sean Diddy Combs trial are back at deliberations over the most serious charge, racketeering conspiracy, count 1.
It's the count they said they were unable to reach a verdict on yesterday afternoon, something the judge urged them to reconsider, pushing for more deliberation.
And so they are. They're back in court deliberating and have been since about 9 o'clock this morning. That's just about 14 and a half hours, if you count it up, of deliberation so far. Imagine that. So we'll continue to watch the court closely this morning.
We do want to get to some breaking news right now. We have just learned in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking and racketeering trial that a verdict has been determined on count 1, the racketeering and conspiracy. This after, 14 and a half hours of deliberation as we're coming on air. Let's get to Kimberly Richardson right now, who's been following this from Lower Manhattan, live for us outside of the courthouse. Kimberly.
When we left court yesterday afternoon, that note number 6, that's the note that came out that kind of was a speed bump so far, where jurors said, look, we've come to a verdict on counts 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's sex trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution. But that count 1, that was one that we're like, we just can't reach a verdict. We will see what will happen. We are standing by for that verdict to see which way this is going to go.
The verdict is being read right now. We're being told from Darla Miles, who's in the courtroom.
This is that moment. You're at the top of the roller coaster. It's anxious. You're on pins and needles. You have no idea what's going to happen.
Not guilty for count 1.
We just learned count 2
is not guilty.
Not guilty.
Count
3 is guilty.
Count 3 is guilty. That's transportation to engage in prostitution with victim 1.
Count 4, not guilty regarding sex trafficking by force or coercion. Right.
But count 5
just came in.
Guilty just came in.
Guilty, right.
This is breaking news from Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
A mixed verdict delivered today in the Sean Combs trial. The disgraced music mogul was acquitted of the most serious charges, and now the question is, will he be released on bond? Hearing set for about an hour from now at 5 o'clock.
The jury found Combs not guilty on 3 counts of sex trafficking and racketeering charges that could have put him behind bars for life. He was convicted on prostitution-related offenses and now faces up to 20 years in prison.
Defense attorneys argue with this outcome, it would be, in their words, inappropriate to keep holding Combs, and they say he should not be considered a flight risk and should be allowed to reunite with his family ahead of his sentencing. However, Cassie Ventura, who was a star witness for the prosecution, along with another witness, are pleading with the judge to keep Combs behind bars until sentencing. Ventura says that he poses a danger to the victims who testified in this case, including herself.
Today's verdict, a big loss for the prosecution, but the Combs family overjoyed by today's outcome. His son, Christian, was seen celebrating in the streets, telling people how happy he is that his pops is coming home. Meanwhile, inside the courtroom, an emotional Combs kneeled after the verdict was read, appearing to pray. Some of his lawyers hugged each other, and a massive round of applause and cheers broke out in the gallery.
Outside the courthouse, it has been a circus. Some supporters chanting, quote, "Let Puffy go," while the NYPD installed additional barricades and shut down traffic in that area in preparation for what could come next.
Now, this case started more than 7 weeks ago, and Eyewitness News has been there every step of the way. Our team of reporters following all of today's developments. We begin this afternoon with Eyewitness News reporter Kimberly Richardson outside the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Kimberly?
Well, Sandra, everybody here outside the courthouse is waiting and watching the front door for any movement. Many here are hoping to see Sean Combs, who they consider larger than life, walk out. A judge is inside reviewing letters from both sets of attorneys arguing for release. Sean Combs woke up behind bars in New York this morning, but could be back inside his Miami mansion tonight.
We love y'all. We love everybody watching. So happy. Pop's coming on. God bless. God bless the whole world.
The Combs family was ecstatic after leaving federal court in Lower Manhattan this afternoon, a weight lifted off their shoulders. On day 3 of deliberations, a jury handing down a split verdict. Sean Combs was facing charges that could have put him behind bars for the rest of his life. Instead, the jury found the 55-year-old not guilty of racketeering conspiracy, 2 counts of sex trafficking. However, guilty on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Legal expert Terry Austin.
I'm not surprised about the Mann Act. I did think when you have transportation of escorts, you are paying them for commercial sex activity. That's a hands down. I did expect that.
Combs' house of cards came tumbling down in November of 2023 when his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura filed a lawsuit. She alleged Combs subjected her to years of abuse, forcing her to have sex with paid male escorts while high on drugs. She testified here she was trying to get away from Combs during a so-called freak-off. A woman testifying under the name Jane says she too was abused during hotel nights. Combs was arrested September 16th of last year and remained in custody, but that could soon change. With the verdict now in, the judge gave attorneys on both sides a chance to make their case why Combs should or should not be let out on bail. The defense wants their client released immediately, saying continuing to detain him would be, quote, inappropriate. In their letter to the judge, writing, quote, he needs and wants to be with and remain with his family. But the government insists Combs will flee from justice. Prosecutors are looking to keep Combs in prison until sentencing. Not doing so would, quote, send a dangerous message that wealth and influence can shield someone indefinitely from accountability. Ventura weighed in, telling her attorney she believes Combs is likely to pose a danger to the victims who testified in this case, including herself and the community.
She's in a good place. She's pleased that, again, that the jury has found him liable, or guilty of 2 federal crimes.
Now, sentencing in this case will come at a later date. Prosecutors want Combs behind bars for roughly 4 to 5 years. The defense, less than 2. But remember, Combs has been in prison for about 9 months. That will count as time served. For now, we're live in Lower Manhattan. Kimberly Richardson, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Kimberly, thank you. We're going to turn now to Darla Miles. She was in the courtroom when the verdict was read. And Darla, what a range of emotions from Combs and his family today.
That's right, Liz. This was always also in a span of about an hour. So you think about it this morning, the jury was seated at 9 a.m. We see Combs in the courtroom at the beginning of the day. He gives a thumbs up to his family. He says, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. He leads them in a moment of prayer, and then he is returned to his holding cell while jurors deliberated. Then very quickly, 9:52, a note from the jury saying that they received a full verdict. Now, when his attorneys came into the room, they were tense. They were standing with their arms folded. They could not sit down, pacing back and forth. Again, nerves were on edge because of the partial verdict yesterday. Combs came in. He was reading a piece of paper, Psalms 11, looked downward as the verdict was read. And as that first not guilty verdict came in, you could see him go, yes. And you could hear his family do the same thing. As they went down the list, another fist pump for the second not guilty. When that third guilty verdict came in, that third verdict of guilty, you could see he was very shocked, very surprised. But in all, as they continued to read their verdict and as jurors were polled about, you know, is this your verdict? Is this your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Is this your true and present verdict? Sean Combs was holding his attorney's hand. He turned to Tenny Garagos. He kissed her on the cheek. He turned to his family several times. We're going to be okay. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. And as in regards to that bail hearing that's going to come up in about an hour, Judge Arun Subramanian said, listen, I can imagine you don't want to go back to MDC. And he comically shook his head no. So this morning started off with high intensity, but even in the courthouse, even after we adjourned this morning, going back inside, you can see the family through the courthouse and the cafeteria, downstairs in the lobby. They are all happy and pleased with the outcome. This is the best case scenario, obviously, outside of a full slate of not guilty verdicts. Liz?
Thank you very much, Darla. I'll take it. Now, a small crowd, of course, has gathered outside the courthouse since the beginning of the Combs trial. And once the verdict came down today, that crowd grew even bigger, prompting the NYPD to put some safety measures in place.
Yeah, with that part of our story, Eyewitness News reporter Anthony Carlo is live in Lower Manhattan and continues our coverage. Anthony.
Sandra, Liz, music, fashion, alcohol. Seems like there's no industry that Sean Diddy Combs hasn't touched. The cameras and the crowds are to be expected. In fact, he's pretty used to them, but nothing quite like this. From the people packed behind barricades to the waving around of bottles of baby oil, the spectacle was certainly on brand for someone as big as Diddy.
Diddy was somebody that we definitely looked up to and admired for his business acumen and all that kind of stuff, you know?
The media frenzy has followed Sean Combs and his family into this chapter of fame. Cheers and jeers as his children and his mother made their way into and out of the courthouse. What does verdict day mean for Diddy's legacy?
Legacy is ruined. You know, and 10 years from now, any of my grandkids look back at Bad Boy, all they're going to hear about is these things here.
I would have probably voted not guilty on everything, only because I feel that the government overcharged and overreached.
It doesn't change my view on Diddy because I know that he's not a good man. He's not a good man.
The reaction just as mixed as the verdict itself. Make no mistake, this is not a happy day, even for fans.
Yeah, I definitely was a fan. You know, what he's done in the music industry. I mean, there's so many positive things that he's brought, right?
But Monica says this case and this trial and this publicity has revealed the dark side of an icon.
I'm seeing kind of the response of like baby oil everywhere and like people kind of making light of the situation. It actually scares me to think that people can think that they can get away with more pain for, you know, women, children, you know, just things that shouldn't be happening.
Well, from Lower Manhattan to Westchester County, and Sean Combs was born in Harlem and raised in Mount Vernon by a single mother.
He founded his own production company back in 1993, Bad Boy Entertainment. He went on to work with people like Mariah Carey, Boyz II Men, Mary J. Blige, the late Biggie Smalls. At the height of his career, Combs did his hometown proud.
Yeah, Eyewitness News reporter Marcus Solis continues our coverage. He's live in Mount Vernon with reaction from there. Marcus.
And Liz and Sandra, Mount Vernon has been home to a number of notable hip-hop and R&B acts. I'll be sure, Heavy D, but Sean Combs, the most successful and most powerful of them all. It hasn't been the main topic of conversation in Mount Vernon.
No comment whatsoever.
At least not something people want to speak of publicly. But this small city is where Sean Combs launched his big career.
I realized that what he had been building was not just a New York thing, that it was a national thing. And he literally had his fingerprint and his footprint in multiple cities.
Prince Charles Alexander is a music producer who first met Diddy when he was known as Puffy and still developing artists. Alexander then worked with Combs when he launched Bad Boy Entertainment.
Where he is right now is a byproduct of excess and having that excess at a very young age and not knowing who to trust.
Combs went to high school at Mount St. Michael Academy on the Bronx border and played football at the all-boys Catholic school, which in 2023 congratulated the 1987 graduate for being named a VMA Global Icon. That same year, Diddy's son Christian hosted a sneaker giveaway at Mount Vernon City Hall. Despite all that, the music mogul not exactly getting rousing support today.
You came to be an idol to our kids, and then you turn around and do something like this. I lost total respect for you.
He's supposed to be, you know what I'm saying, a decent dude and all of that, so on and so forth. But now, back in the day, that was then. Now, we're talking about the current of here now. Big difference. End quote.
Back now with continuing coverage of the breaking news of the day, and Sean Combs will remain behind bars after being convicted on 2 of the 5 charges against him this morning. You're looking live right now at the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan, where just moments ago, the judge denied bail to Sean Combs. And we see a podium set up where we expect perhaps some of the attorneys to give some comments. We know Sean Combs' sentencing now set for October 3rd.
The big story we're following right now, Sean Combs back inside a courtroom in Lower Manhattan, waiting to learn his fate. Newscopter 7 over the courthouse in Lower Manhattan. It is sentencing day for the former music mogul. 3 months after a jury convicted him on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. We're getting new information in just now. In fact, we were told that Combs has wrapped up his testimony to the court, and we've learned a couple of things from this testimony. He apologized to his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, all the victims from his actions, he says. He apologized to his family, turned to his mother saying, "You taught me better." We got Kimberly Richardson outside the courtroom right now. Let's go to her right now to get the update. Kimberly.
Well, David, of course, this is of note because during the 8-week trial, Sean Combs did not testify in the court. So this is the first time we've heard from him at length. I want to go over some of what he said just moments ago. He has wrapped. He was only on the stand speaking for a couple of minutes, not being able to express how sorry I am for his actions. Then he turned to his former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. He wanted to address her. She's not physically here, but she did write a letter into the judge expressing she does not want him to walk on time served. He told her, quote, "I want to personally apologize to Cassie Ventura for any harm that I caused her emotionally or physically. I don't take that lightly."
This is breaking news from Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
And good evening. I'm Sade Better-and-Wine. We continue to follow that breaking news from Lower Manhattan.
And I'm Joe Torres in for Mike. That sentence, Sean Diddy Combs sentenced now to 50 months in prison, 4 years, 2 months. He will get credit for the 12 months he's already spent behind bars. He'll then face another 5 years of supervised release. We have team coverage on this story as well. We begin with Eyewitness News reporter Kimberly Richardson, who is outside of the court. Kimberly?
Yes, and people gathered out here now learning about this sentence. Sean Combs sentenced to 4 years, 2 months in prison. Of course, that will also include taking off the 13 months that he has already served in jail in Brooklyn. He will also be followed by 5 years of supervised release and have to pay a $500,000 fine. That is the maximum 5. This sentence is far less than what the prosecution wanted. That group wanted a sentence of at least 11 years behind bars.
His children, his mother, his attorneys, Combs, they had no facial expression, no reaction after being depleted, emotionally depleted, after really pretty much begging for his freedom and then learning that he would be spending more than 4 years in prison.
Yeah, well, Darla, you certainly gave us a clear picture of what happened inside the courtroom. Again, Sean Diddy Combs was sentenced to 4 years and 2 months.